Okay, TJ, show us how to work these elevators.
Hi, I'm TJ with San Francisco Elevator. We're just going to be going over some basic operations of the elevators here. So obviously you have a haul station. This is the station where people will summon the elevator. So if they want to go up one of the upper floors, they'll press the up button. The button will illuminate. When the elevator's answering the call, it'll extinguish. And then generally a few seconds later, one of the doors will open. So you'll notice here, the door's open. You have a floor indication with the direction of travel. So they would then get in the elevator and select which floor they want to go to. The elevator door has a detector that senses anybody in there. The door doesn't have to physically hit them. So as people are loading and they walk in front of that, the door will reverse direction. There is a timer on that. If they lock the door for an extended period of time, it's usually about 60 seconds, the elevator will do what's called a nudging feature. An alarm will sound and the door will start to close slowly. So we're going to recommend that if people are moving in and out, they don't put anything in front of the door. A couple of the functions of the key switches here. You have fire recall. This is generally used by the firefighters if they want to take control of the elevators. Or when we come and do monthly maintenance, we'll test this. We'll do a test, we'll bring both elevators down, and then we'll do a one-floor run to make sure that it works properly. A lot of buildings think that this overrides and they can recall the elevators if they're broken. This switch does not override any safety features. It's simply there to capture the elevators. So if the elevators are working properly and the switch is turned to on, they'll both come down to this floor and they'll open up the door and go into a standby mode. If the elevators are broken, if there's some reason, power outage, mechanical malfunction, electrical malfunction, this key will not recall them. It will not override that. So a lot of people think it's a master override. It's not. So if they're working properly, this will function properly. If there's a malfunction, chances are this won't work. So it will not recall the elevators. Then there's also an emergency power key switch. It's always left in the auto position. If there was a power outage and the emergency generator's activated, these jewels are going to illuminate. Both elevators will stage, and then one elevator will operate. If you want to take control and determine which elevator is going to operate, you would insert your key and turn this to either the 1 or the 2 position. That'll override the auto function so that the tenant can, or the building owner can determine which elevator they want to use. If you want to use the bigger one. Right now the bigger one's programmed to be the primary. If you wanted to override that and go to this smaller part, you could do so by turning this to 2. It will not run both elevators at the same time because you're on emergency power. That pretty much covers the functions of these key switches and buttons. If there is a fire emergency, a smoke detector goes off, this hat will illuminate. So if you ever see this illuminated and the elevators are parked with the doors open, there's been a detector has either gone off or for some reason the elevator's in a fire service mode. So we can step into one of the elevators now and we'll go over just some of the buttons on the inside.
Well, that's for the 7th floor.
7th floor, yes.
Yeah, I don't think we're all gonna fit.
Yeah, we should have went on the bigger one.
Should we send this one away? And
Yeah, this.
Yeah, maybe get the other one. Okay. Sorry, let's just get out of here because that one is tight quarters.
So there's no resetting it or anything, so that really doesn't do none of that.
It doesn't. There's some instances where fire recall will recall, like if someone's holding the elevator.
What is this one?
That's through the enable the top floor because one elevator goes to the 7th floor,
Yeah.
the other one only goes to 6. So that basically enables that 7th floor from the hall call there to turn it on.
Then when we need to record, what is the switch to record the elevator?
It's here.
This is the one?
Yeah, but it's not meant to, it's not going to fix something. So what a lot of buildings do is they see their elevators are stuck. First thing they do is they come and turn that on thinking they're going to override a malfunction. That's not what it does. It's there for fire personnel to take control of the elevators in an emergency.
Not us, only fire
No,
department.
just fire
As far as the 7th floor one of the guys that were working on it said that there's a key to notify that like for people who live on 7th floor, that if they were to put their key there and turn it, then the elevator that goes up to the 7th floor would be the one coming to pick them up.
Right.
Is that true?
Yes.
Okay.
Looks like this. Okay.
Yeah. No, I have one too, but he didn't say that. Oh, that's why I was wondering if it was true or not.
Okay, inside the elevator.
All right.
You basically have some similar functions inside. You have the direction indicators, and that's the direction the elevator is going to travel once you get in it. Floor buttons inside. If you want to go to 1, 7, you press that floor. It'll light up. When the elevator approaches the floor and starts its leveling, it will extinguish. A few seconds later, the doors will open. So inside this elevator, you have a position indicator. This tells you the floor you're currently on, and then direction of travel will be displayed. If you're going up, it'll have an up arrow, down, it'll have a down arrow. If there's ever someone stuck in the elevator and they want to summon local assistance, there's an alarm button here.
And that goes off to just the building?
That's just the building, it's local. There's also a phone, push to help. I don't want to activate it now because it'll go to emergency dispatching. But when you press that button, it'll light up. That automatically dials our dispatch center, and then it connects the person in the elevator with our dispatcher. They'll generally make sure that the person's okay. They'll ask them what floor they're stuck on, what direction they were traveling, but then they get a location announcement. So when the dispatcher picks up, there's a recording that says this is elevator number 1 or number 2 at 990 Pacific, San Francisco. The reason that's there is if the person in the elevator can't speak, doesn't speak English, for some reason can't communicate where they're at. Maybe a medical emergency, they push the button and then they passed out. That way our emergency dispatcher knows, hey, there's an emergency at 990 Pacific. We dispatch a mechanic immediately when this is activated, and it goes to our dispatch center.
So if somebody's trying to be funny and push that, no matter what, it's going to dispatch?
We generally always dispatch, unless the only times we really won't dispatch, people are always inadvertently hitting that button.
So is there any kind of noise for us to hear that somebody did push that?
No. If we can speak to the people, we'll ask them, are you okay? A lot of times they'll say, oh, sorry, I pushed it by accident. We'll disregard the call. If we can hear people having a conversation and we can hear the button going off or the bells, we know that, hey, the elevator's working, we hear people talking, they accidentally hit the button. If we don't get what's called a voice response or any indication, then we dispatch someone because we don't know if they pushed it and then, had some sort of issue where they passed out or can't speak.
You get charged for that?
You do. If it's what we call a no voice ADA call. So if we come here and no one's in the elevator and it's running fine, we'll generally charge for that. After 2 or 3 times we'll charge for it. We come here once in a while and say, hey,
That's our
we're not, our main focus is making sure everybody's okay in the building and no one's in here. If it's after hours and we come on an overtime call, I can guarantee you're probably gonna get charged. If it's during normal business hours, we generally don't. I mean, our main goal is we want people to be safe. So that's basically the functions in the car. The other car is identical to this. Same alarm button, same phone button, position indicator. Both of these cabs have functioning cameras. And then you have the same indicator inside here.
Then I have one question.
Come on in.
What? I have a question. Regarding with the elevator permit.
Yes.
This file already. And
So-
then,
Yeah, so the state of California issues permits. They also do inspections. They do annual inspections. It'll probably need to be requested because they're way behind right now.
Yeah, right now 6 months. Right?
So if you call the state of California elevator division, give them your address, say my permit's expired, they will send you a letter stating that you've requested the inspection and that no enforcement can be taken against you for them not acting on it. I recommend that people do that if their permits are expired, especially if you're in a building where people look at it and they come and say, hey, the permit's expired. Because it causes some concern. People see it, they see an expired permit, they think the elevator may be unsafe. The state will send you that letter. You can post it either in there or you can put it on the wall. I recommend doing that because it makes people feel easier. And then you can also communicate to your residents that you have the elevator serviced every month by a licensed elevator company. A lot of times that'll put them at ease.
Yeah, because last week I got that elevator permit from Brian. He sent to me.
Yeah.
But the problem expired already June 1
Yeah.
and 1 May.
Oh.
Why I want to call the state to come over, at
Yeah.
least to get the letter.
Yeah.
Sometimes they take 2 or 3 years behind.
Yeah, they're very busy.
Very busy.
So there are door open and door close buttons on here. If you're at a floor, you press door open, it'll reopen the door. You can hold this button if you're holding it for someone and the door will stay open. That nudging timer I spoke about will still go into effect after 60 seconds if someone's holding the button. Or you can hit door close and close the door. You don't have to hold it, you can just tap it. If the elevator's running, it will not open the doors. It has to be stopped at a landing in order for the doors to open. If there's a fire emergency, this hat will light up, similar to the indicator we saw in the hall. If there's an earthquake event and the seismic is triggered for the elevator, that seismic switch will light up as well. Generally, the elevator will stop at the closest floor. It'll open the doors and shut down. So if there's a seismic event and someone's in here, that'll be triggered. The elevator will go into an emergency stop. Doors will open. People can exit, and then it'll sit there with the doors open. So if you ever have the elevator stuck on a floor, one thing I would recommend is come in if the doors are open and look and see if either of these are lit. And then you can call us and tell us the seismic is lit or the fire is lit. It gives us an indication of what's going on.
So if it goes into seismic alarm, you guys would need to be called out to reset it.
Yeah.
It won't work until that happens.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and we reset it, and we also, if there's an actual event, like last week we had an event, we have to inspect the hoistways to make sure none of the rails got twisted, even on a small event. It's there to keep the counterweights from coming out of the rails and coming in contact with the cab. So it's important that we come out and do a visual inspection in the hoistway anytime this is lit. If it's reset without doing that visual inspection, there could be dangers in the hoistway that no one's aware of.
Because last week I had that problem in Notre Dame. One of the elevators,
Mhm.
we had operation, earthquake operation.
Yeah.
Then I called, because right now we was taking care of that building, San Francisco. This last January 1st.
Okay.
And then I called your company to make sure it's safe.
Yeah.
To check the rocks, everything.
Yeah, we need to do a visual
Only
inspection.
one elevator, the other two, one can find it, just only one.
Yeah, there's multiple sensors, so depending on how the earthquake came through and what part of the building the seismic event moves, sometimes you'll have elevators working and some on seismic.
Okay.
Do you want to take this opportunity to go up to see the disconnect?
Sure. Pardon me. You know what? I'm not sure. I believe it's this way to the left, right?